Hi guys, and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today I'm going to be looking at the new Tier 8 Mercenary Heavy Premium Tank, which is a bit of a mouthful, the Brick. And growing up, I'm sure a lot of you were told the same, that, I was told that if you haven't got anything nice to say, then don't say anything at all. So on that note, take care out there and I'll catch you next time. See you later. Yeah. Yeah, it kind of gives you an idea of my opinions on this tank. Anybody who's been keeping an eye on my Twitter account will probably have a bit more of an idea about this tank as well. And also, just before I get into this as well, just quickly before I forget, I now have a Discord server. I'll pop an invite link in the description to this video down below. So feel free to pop along and sort of just have a chat and discuss everything, World of Tanks related, and just other stuff as well. But anyway, back to this. So Tier 8 Premium Mercenary Heavy, the Brick. And well, it's certainly a brick, and but I'm thinking more of the kind made out of straw and cow shit. Okay, a quick brief rundown now. I'll talk more about it over the actual replays, and my full opinions on it over the replays, but let's just try and get through the stats and everything else. So it's in the store at the moment, with and without equipment. With equipment is just shy of 18,000 gold. Without equipment, but obviously with 30 days of premium boost ops, is just over 15,000 gold, and it comes down to 13,400 gold for the tank on its own, and that will be available on the 11th of December for the base bundle. This is the press account again, but as per requests, I have not stuck an amazing crew in it. I've stayed with the crew that came in it, that comes with Brothers in Arms and Track Mechanic, and the only thing I've done is used a load of boost stops on here while I was playing in this tank, trying to get footage to basically crank out another skill and put 6th Sense on it, and as you can see I'm partially through repairs as well. So not an awesome crew, more or less the crew that will come with it. It's up to you whether you swap one of those skills out for 6th Sense straight away and then retrain. That's your choice. I just did it this way because you need Track Mechanic on this tank. You also need safe stowage, possibly a wet ammo rack as well, because anything hits you in the left hand side and your ammo rack gets damaged, or your turret gets popped off. It's plain and simple. The ammo rack in this thing on that left hand side is atrocious. So it's an E50 hull. It's an IS-6 turret, although the gun mantle is a different shape to the one on the IS-6 turret, and it is I think it's the 100mm LB1, which is on various medium tanks. And let's have a look at the stats. So engine power 810, which is not a lot in this tank. It is very, very heavy. The gun is essentially, it's a medium tank gun. It is a medium tank gun. It says it's got really good rate of fire. I think it's actually slightly less rate of fire than on the Motherland. It is the same gun as on the Motherland. 190 pen, 250 damage. Now, if this was a very mobile tank, or at least as mobile as the Motherland, this gun would work on this tank. As it is, in its current formation, this gun does not work on this tank. It just simply does not have enough pen. The aim time is pretty poor as well for how you have to use it, and the accuracy as well, because you will have to aim for weak spots. With 190 pen, you're not fast enough to get around and flank like you can in a medium. And especially with the fact that there's been 90mm that have been buffed to to above 200 pen recently, this just seems a little bit ridiculous. And coupled with the fact that when the King Dragon was released, it was released with a gun very, very similar to this, if not almost identical. And after a few weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, Wargaming finally admitted, after everybody had said how bad it is and how uncompetitive it is, that they'd made a mistake, and they buffed the gun on it and gave it a different gun. They really need to do that with this, or they need to do something with this, but I'll talk about that more over the replays. So, 7.23 rounds a minute, 190 pen, 250 damage. This is a heavy tank, don't forget, even though it's a medium tank hull, it's a heavy tank. 247 on your premium, 250 again, 5330 on your HE, which are really not worth bothering with. 2.9 second aiming time and 0.38 accuracy. Hull traverse is not particularly good at 24 degrees. It's very similar to some of the sort of German heavies and what have you. But I mean, to give you a comparison, that's way worse than like the Super Pershing. The Super Pershing has way better traverses than this does, and that's got a lot of armour ploughed onto the front of that as well. The IS-6 turret armour, you can see there, 150, 150, 100. Again, we'll talk about that a bit more. Turret traverse, painfully slow at 20 degrees, and a really bad... I mean, that is a really poor view range at 350 degrees as well. That is a poor view range for this tank, and that's because it's a Soviet turret. And Soviet tanks, one thing they are not known for is great view range. Until you get up to maybe sort of, you say 9, 10, then obviously it does get a lot better. Equipment-wise, I didn't go. I didn't go for. I don't think any of the equipment that they actually suggest on it. I went for a gun rammer to try and increase that rate of fire even more, because you do have to put a lot of lead down range with this. You will miss quite a few. Like I say, you do have to go for weak spots. There's certain tanks you come up against that, as I said, this doesn't have the mobility to get around them. Those tanks, Japanese super heavies, I'm looking at you, VK100-01P, Maushan, etc. You are going to struggle to pen those things frontally if you come up against them. I mean, really struggle. Some of those, even with your premium ammo. This thing with this gun should not see tier 10 until it's had something done to it. But yeah, regardless. So yeah, vertical stabilizer, gun rammer, coated optics, because the view range is so poor. I had to try and get that up somehow. Situational awareness definitely on this tank. Definitely off-road driving, definitely clutch braking, and definitely safe stowage. 100%. You're probably going to need those. And it does seem very, very suited to a very specific set of circumstances and a role. And unfortunately, you don't get those very specific set of circumstances in every match. Rounds are cheap, however, 252, 4,400 for your premium, 252 again for your high explosive. And again, I've just got standard equipment on here. So let's have a look at some of the modules and things. While I'm in here as well, I will tell you that the bonuses on this, because again, it is a premium tank, I did expect the bonuses to be probably a little bit more with how they were going on about it, with its amazing silver bonuses, but it seems to have pretty much the same silver bonuses that a lot of other tier 8s have, although, I may be mistaken that, but it's got a 50% extra silver bonus and a 10% XP bonus, so there you go, that's for your bonuses. 1,500 hit points, as you can see there. And we'll talk about the armour in a moment. Now, its power to weight ratio is pretty poor, 11.82. That's less, to give you an idea, that's less than a fully upgraded Tiger 2, which is, I think that's about 12 point something. I think that might have slightly better terrain resistances as well. Top forward speed of 40 kilometers an hour, 15 in reverse, 20% chance of fire. I have been set on fire in this a couple of times. RT, love this thing because it is slow. So again, be pre-warned. In fact, a spore liner is one of the pieces of equipment that they gave you in the bundle, and on reflection, could be a good idea. Because even though it's covered in bricks, which I've still yet to ascertain if they actually work as spaced armor or just an extra layer, RT just seems to punish you miserably in this. I've been in other tanks that actually I know is spaced armor, the sandbags, etc., where RT can hit those, and it can get swallowed up. It doesn't always, but it can. I've not seen that happen yet in this. That's my personal experience in this. So, gun-wise, 7 degrees of gun depression, which kind of feels like a bit of a lie over the front. You might get that over the side, but the gun depression over the front, there are issues. There is a viewport there. You can just see it. That does get in the way quite drastically when you're looking over the left-hand side of the front of your tank, and has caused me quite a few issues when it really shouldn't have, and in a place, because this is quite a tall tank as well, and quite often, not always, but some of the Russian tanks have very good gun depression. They're quite low, so it is an issue, but it can be avoidable. With this, I was kind of somewhere where I really shouldn't have had any issues with it, and I really just could not get the gun down to shoot this guy. He was just down a small slope, and it was quite irritating. Accuracy on moving the tank, 0.62, on rotating the turret, 0.62 as well. 23 degrees of elevation, so no problems if anything gets above you. It's just if anything is below you, you are stuffed. And also, if anything faster than slow moving glacier comes after you, you're pretty much stuffed as well. This is definitely not a brawler. And in fact, front arm anyway. Terrain resistance is 1.2, 1.7, 2.7, so not great, kind of in line with a lot of heavy tanks though. Turret on top. Radios in the front front right of the turret. Front left as you're looking at it. Ammunition blocks. There's one in the back of the turret, one either side of the hull, and it's that left-hand one that keeps getting me. I keep getting that damaged, and actually I've had my turret popped a couple of times from getting that one hit. Once without even getting it damaged. An ISM hit me in the side and just popped my turret from just over half health. Crew members, you've got 2 in the front, driver and radio operator, and then up in your turret you've got your commander, gunner, loader. Concealment, as you'd expect, is awful, 0.10 and 0.05 as well. Armour-wise, again, yet to ascertain whether that actually works as spaced armour, and the gun mantle is a different shape to the IS-6. You'll notice it is flatter, it doesn't have that sort of cone shape to it. It's just got a small bit around the gun, but it is kind of flat compared to the actual IS-6 turret. So your basic armour values, 150 on the front of the turret, 150 on the sides, 100 on the rear, 150 on the front of the hull, 80 on the sides and the rear. The lower glacis does seem to get penned quite easily. Even though it has got those bricks on there, it does seem to get penned quite easily. T29's penned it. In fact, I'm not even sure he went for the lower glacis. He might have just gone for the upper. He was kind of close. It was when I was testing it a little bit to see what it can and can't do. Right, there you go, after some more of my quality editing. Sorry, I just had somebody at the door. But yeah, so I had a Tier 8 French light tank at the Batchat 12T. Going across in front of me at about 250, 300 metres. Just hammering along, auto-aiming or whatever at me, and he penned the front of this. I don't know where he hit, but he did pen the front of it, just to give you an idea. I'm assuming it was probably a very lucky shot, but, I'm just telling you because full disclosure and all that shit. Anyway, so yeah, the bricks that have been put on it, as I said, I've not noticed any... I want to try and set up in a training room, and I'll probably bring this to you at some point, hopefully later in the week. I've not been able to get it done today, but I've not noticed any detrimental effect towards heat or HE from these bricks, as you would from, like, say, the Spaced Armour and Absolution, for an example. That just comes to mind, etc. So there you are. But anyway, 1 to 21mm there, your bricks. You can see they cover most of the tank, including in front of your commander's hatches. 21 to 31 is your tracks, and the very top of the turret as well. 31 to 51 is the underside of the hull that goes over the tracks and your engine deck. 71 to 91, that's your sides and your rear of your hull. 91 to 120, that's your lower glacis, back of the turret. So, the back of the turret shows us 100mm. I don't know what the lower glacis is on this. And then 121 to 161, well, that's your 150 for the front of the hull, sides, and front of the turret as well. And then you have, the 200mm is a very small part of your turret ring just there. Now, I think that's about everything I wanted to cover in this bit, so let's get into the replays now. I'll talk a little bit more over it, I'll talk a little bit more about it over those. So here we are for the replays. There's probably something I forgot in the garage, and I'm sure if there is, you'll remind me in the comments down below. But anyway, Tier 8 match, fairly good matchmaking, and these are the best 2 games that I managed to get in this, and they're not great. So there you go. It's just, I'll show you how it is. Try and use sort of more average games. I mean, sometimes I do something that, if I have a game that's particularly exciting or good, I might put that in a review. But generally, I just hopefully try and show the more average games. But yeah, these are the 2 best games I've had in this, and both of them are with pretty good matchmaking, to be fair. Now, I don't like to sort of throw the phrase bad tank around, particularly because I do try and look at the positive, or look for the positive in a tank, and sometimes just because I don't like a tank, it just means that it's not suited to my play style or whatever. So I don't like to use the word bad tank. And I do actually think that there are very few, if any, truly bad tanks in this game. Like I say, just might not suit your play style. But in its current state, I would be very close to calling this a bad tank. And it's a shame because I want to like it. It kind of reminds me in a way of a Tiger 2, and I do love the Tiger 2. So, I do kind of want to like this tank, but at the moment I really can't. As I say, in its sort of current state, it does seem very, very suited to very specific circumstances. And I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to try and say that I know everything, and you know, and because I don't know everything. But I'd like to think that I kind of know this game, and I'd like to think that I can kind of pick out, you know, the good qualities and everything else out of a tank. And this tank has the capability or the possibility of being an alright to a pretty decent tank if it just had a couple of small changes. And at the moment, it really needs those changes. So, I mean, the way I've been looking at it, I can see three possibilities for this tank, and I'll start with possibly what I would do to it personally, and possibly my favourite, but probably the least likely, is that I would like to see this get a mobility increase up to the mobility of, say, the Motherland, which also uses this gun, and this gun is effective on the Motherland. And that's the thing, this is a medium tank gun. It is on at least 3 tanks I can think of in a game. Motherland T44-100, you know, the Volk one, and I think it's very similar to the actual one you can get on the T44 itself, the texture one, but I could be wrong on that one. But the difference is, they're mediums, they have the mobility that this doesn't. They can get around the flanks easier. That's what kind of makes this gun work on those tanks, even though with, again, some of the buffs, as I mentioned before, Pershing is one that comes to mind. I would kind of like to see this gun get a slight penetration buff on those tanks anyway, and that's simply because of the, you know, a couple of years ago they were fine, they worked perfectly alright, but since then, you know, we've had Japanese super heavies, VK101P, etc. I think I mentioned before, Mercenary, you know, that sort of stuff. Okay, so, but I think that's the least likely because it would involve probably the most work. You'd have to be giving an engine buff for the speed, the top speed, the traverses, and obviously with the look of the tank, the least feasible because it just wouldn't fit the look of the tank. It's had a load of bricks put on it for extra armour, so it's going to be a lot heavier. And then it would also take it away from the role that Wargaming intended for it. So that's my personal favourite, would be that one, more mobility, but I think it's the least likely. My second option would be to give it preferential matchmaking, leave it as it is and give it preferential matchmaking. Some people might think, well, the armour at the front, you know, it's going to be too tough for a preferential matchmaking tank. But, you know, Super Pershing, Gorinich, and there is another one, I can't even think what it is. Oh, the Mutant 6. They're all very, very tough frontally, and they've all got preferential matchmaking. The Mutant 6, you could even argue, doesn't really need it because, I mean, at the time it had the same penetration as the T32, I think. So, you know, there's arguments 2 and 4 for that. I think that's probably, as I say, that's probably the second most least likely sort of thing out of the 3 that I could come up with, is to give it preferential matchmaking and leave it as it is. But again, that would make it more effective and more competitive on the battlefield. I think the most likely and probably the easiest to do would to just be give it a gun buff like they did with the King Dragon when that came out, because as I said I think I said in the garage, you know, they did actually admit to that not having a particularly competitive gun, and they buffed it, and that has more mobility than this does, and yet that got a buffed gun. To me that seems, like I say, not my personal choice, but it seems like the most logical and probably the easiest way of doing something to this. And if any one of those 3 things happen to it, then this could be an alright to a pretty decent tank. Obviously I can't say how good it'd be because, you know, I've not played it with those improvements, if any improvements come. I just hope they do. But, you know, that, like I say, it would make it to a decent to an alright tank with those. And I mean, when I say gun buff, again, I've got in mind a couple of things, and I don't know everything, these are just my ideas. One would be to increase its pen, possibly its damage as well, but I don't think it would need it, just, you know, give it a bit of a pen increase. My other way, possibly, because you do kind of have to rely on weak spots for a lot of the tanks that you come up against, and, you know, in this match, I don't come up against any of the tanks that you're going to struggle against, really. I mean, you would against a fully upgraded ISM, I would say. In fact, I have, so there you go. But yeah, so either the pen increase, or give it an aim time increase, an accuracy increase, so you can aim for those weak spots and aim for them a bit quicker, and a very, very slight reload, you know, rate of fire increase. as I say, they're my 3 ideas. I don't know what you guys think, but that's it. But this one, unfortunately, did turn out to be a loss because I just simply, by the time I'd helped these, you know, I was hoping that heavy would have been able to at least do some damage to that medium, and by the time I got down here and took out those others, I've just not got enough speed to get back up there in time to interrupt the cap, which was just frustrating. Again, you know, if I was in a medium, I mean, I know it's not a medium, but I, you know, probably would have gone for a button that. It's just a bit frustrating. But yeah, that was one of the best rounds I had in it. 2,700 blocked. The sides aren't bad, but you'd have to be careful with the angle. Don't over-angle it or they will get penned. And again, be very, very careful with that left-hand side. Nearly every time I get hit through that left-hand side, I get Amarok damage. Or, as I said before, I've had my Amarok actually go up twice in it. But on to the next one. And again, tier 8 match, very, very good matchmaking. This thing was pretty damn horrible in tier 10 matches. In fact, it was really horrible in tier 10 matches, and I just didn't even carry you know, nearly enough premium ammo for those. And in tier 9 matches, again, you can do some stuff in tier 9 matches. You get yourself in the right position. Again, blocking roads is good at, you know, because if you can get hull down or angle it right on a side scrape, you can bounce a lot of shots. But then again, you can in a Tiger 2 that hasn't got all the bricks on it, you know. I'm just giving you examples. So it can fulfill that sort of roadblock role. But against a lot of the higher tiers, you will find yourself mostly just tracking them or sort of bouncing and just bouncing their shots if you get the angle right, or again, get hull down. But yeah, it just, I don't know, it just wasn't very nice in those higher tier matches. And again, you know, it can maneuver a bit better than a Japanese super heavy, but it doesn't feel like much. So even against them, you kind of struggle a little bit sometimes to outmaneuver. But anyway, I think I've criticised it enough. I seriously think it needs something doing to it, and I think if they did something to it, any of those, then I would be seriously tempted to kind of pick this up. I do, like I say, it does in some ways remind me of a Tiger 2, possibly a stock Tiger 2. But I do like the Tiger 2. But in its current format, it is definitely not one that I will be picking up. And against the lower tiers, you know, that gun's fine. It's, as I said, you know, these circumstances that I've shown in these two seem to be the best circumstances for it, which is, as I said, after playing it in tier 9 and 10, in tier 9 you can make it work. You have to, it's hard work, and it does seem quite difficult, and sometimes, and I've had this actually, and quite surprising, because it does have 40 km/h top speed, the fight can and does sometimes get away from you in it, because even though you've got that 40 km/h top speed, some of the maps where there's a lot of uphills, and it just really slows down. So that did kind of surprise me, even though I knew its mobility wasn't great with it having that top speed. I didn't think the fight would actually get away from me, but it has done a couple of times. And again, these are just my experiences that I'm passing on to you guys, so hopefully you can make a more informed decision. Alright, where's that T32? And again, I bounced quite a few in this one, and again, I think it's a similar sort of damage output to the last match. And the reason that I've kind of found it tricky, I mean, before this, one of my highest damage was about 1,500, and that was down to two things: one, simply not penning when I did hit, and two, just getting trolled a little bit by the accuracy. Even though it's not as bad as a lot of the Russian tanks, I don't know, it did troll me a little bit. And especially when I was trying to aim for weak spots and it would just miss, and it would then bounce. As you can see, I don't carry loads of premium ammunition. I never do in any of my tanks really, apart from Snakebite and the Panzer IIJ. But that's because I'm a complete and utter scrub in the Panzer IIJ, so there you go. Anyway, back to this. As you can see, you know, I'm bouncing from the T32. I'm managing to pen his sides. It was a bit of an obtuse angle for his lower glacis though before. But you do have, as I mentioned in the garage, you do have gun depression issues over that left front hand, sort of the front left hand side of your tank, because there is a commander's hatch there, not a commander's hatch, a viewpoint, oh my goodness, right, a viewport there that does get in the way of the gun quite badly, so do bear that in mind. And I don't know, I mean I can't say, but it really doesn't seem as though you get your full 7 degrees over the front of the tank. You do seem to get that over the side, but the front can be a bit iffy, as I said, with that gun depression, and that's just an issue I've found. Now we've got a Wraith over there, not one that I'm particularly familiar with, and okay, what was the Wraith? Was that one of the new Halloween tanks this year? I mean, as you know, I took a bit of a break from this, so I did miss a few. I know one of them was a version of the Mutant 6, but anyway, he's dead. There you go. So I'm not really wanting to sit in cap. That Yahtzee, or Yatsu, however you pronounce it, the Chinese tank destroyer is, or seemingly coming round on me, so I wanted to try and get away from him and see if I could do something about this KV-85, so that by the time that Chinese TD gets done with whatever it's holding it off there, I'm not going to be facing two tanks from two different sides, so let's just bully the tier 6. And this tank can be, and is, a bit of a bully to the lower tiers. It definitely is. Although it does seem to encourage a lot of premium spamming. I have experienced a hell of a lot of premium spamming in this tank at me, and with that lower pen you are definitely going to have to spam the gold quite a bit in those higher tier matches. Now there's that Chinese TD. He's come around, he gave me a big whack in the side, so I'm going to pull back a bit, angle, try and hide that lower glacis, wobble a bit, but unfortunately the TD, the Centurion behind me, took me down. So there you go, brick. Again, I don't think it needs something doing to it. I think it definitely has potential, but it needs something doing to it. I mean, and like the King Dragon, I mean, I still hate the look of that thing, but when it came out I just hated everything about it. They buffed the gun, and now I think the gun on it is fantastic, and I think it's a great little medium. I just wish they'd bring out a plain version of it. And I think it's the same with this. I think it really does just need something doing to it, and it could be a pretty damn good tank, but in its current format I just think it's just wasted, unfortunately. So there you go. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed that, and I'll be back tomorrow with another video for you. So until then, take care out there, and I'll catch you next time. See you later.